You don't really care about me. Yeah. This is a informal conversation around a very. I'll wait till you put it back in.
Was that informal? That's ghetto. So that is. Let's make sure that all the things that can.
This is a informal soul talk. A informal conversation around the topic of happiness. This is Patrice. And she has been on the YouTube Soul Talk episode before already. I am, as y'all already know, J Soul, the one and only J Soul, oh so lorific in the building. Dig what I'm saying? And it's really just kind of like a couch conversation. For real. We gotta talk about happiness and I guess fulfillment. I'm probably need my Bible for certain scriptural parts. Now, or we could just really use your phone for real.
Yeah, so I have it here. So a couple of weeks ago, there was a model who committed suicide, and her name was Crist.
That's her?
Yes,
Wow.
that's her. Gorgeous.
Yeah, definitely.
She had won Miss USA 2019, and it was a big deal because she's a woman of color, and
you gotta look at the camera.
set all these precedents and stuff. But she was 30, I think, soon to be 31, and she jumped off of her own apartment building in Manhattan, like just jumped, and obviously died from her injuries immediately. But that was like I guess it was weighty to me, first of all, just as a black woman in general, right? But I had so many questions after she did that. And it just brought me to a place of contemplation, like, why would someone who had what seems like everything, who had already achieved so much before she was even 30, she wasn't just Miss USA 2019, she was a model, she was also a lawyer, so she actually went to school and became a lawyer, and she advocated for a lot of things. Also, she was a news anchor. I left that out in our conversation.
She was a news anchor?
She was a news anchor on E! News.
On E! News?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yep.
That's the Hollywood
like entertainment.
show? Okay.
Yeah. I think it's E! News. Don't quote me. Sorry. But yeah, she was also a news anchor. And when you see her, like if you go back and just watch videos of her, she has a very like vibrant personality. Like you could tell she was a light. So I'm like, how do we go from that to I'm jumping off of a building and I want to die?
Let me ask you, like, how did it make you feel like at first? When you found out, like,
it made me concerned, for real. Like concerned for people, for women, for black women. I've always been concerned for women anyway, and you know, issues of like depression, anxiety, suicidalness, like those are things that are kind of like close to my heart. So when I saw that, I was like, man, like this it almost felt like it hit home. Like, and I got concerned about other people who we know may be strong or may have some form of fame and celebrity, even if people don't really know who they are yet. You know, there's levels to this, so
sure.
But like, I thought about those kind of people, and I thought about even the added pressure of race on top of that, of being somebody who champions something and like kicks down a door, and everybody's applauding you because it's like, well, not only did you win, but you're black. That's a big deal. And what kind of pressure that added to what I feel like for her may have been a striving to constantly achieve, right? Because now that's where you're getting validation from. It's like, I've been validated by these things that I do and by the accomplishments that I have, but okay, I've gone this far, I need to go further,
right?
And I think that creates a tremendous amount of pressure on people.
Yeah, I mean, and again, we don't know the actual cause for why she did what we did. I mean, all of it is pretty much speculative. She ain't write no like note or nothing like that type of thing, did she?
I heard she did. I haven't heard anything about what was in it. So yeah, I heard that, and it could be incorrect news because I haven't heard anything about it. But I heard that kind of like going through media.
Right. But bring up like that, because you remember you were talking about the memoir, I guess, or the memo that she wrote, the letter that she wrote. I like there was a certain part in there that I think was, you would like pull that up.
Yeah. Let me pull it up.
Because for me, I guess the question, some immediate questions I think about when I hear that story, we were talking about, is just like, was this girl, like, this woman, was she happy? Would it be, I don't know if it would even be fair to just chalk it all up to like depression. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to just say like, oh, that was just all.
There was a part of it.
You know what I mean? So I think that was a part.
Yeah, depression is like, it's more of a symptom of something, but it's also wrapped in so many other things.
Yeah, because I think we're going to be like, oh yeah, you know, mental health, like people, you gotta go get your mental health right. If you're depressed, if you're this, if you're that, like go and get that checked out. I mean, speak to a therapist. I think we're quick to do those things, but I wanted to just really kind of unpack this particular example and like see what we could you know discover in terms of like happiness and satisfaction, genuine fulfillment, because this is somebody who was incredibly accomplished by the time they were 30, did a lot of stuff that most people take half their lifetime to accomplish, right? But yeah, I pulled that up. Let me see. This is on Allure?
Yeah, so she wrote this article. I'm not sure if it was specifically for Allure magazine, but it's in Allure magazine. And this was a couple of years ago. So I'm just going to read like the little first excerpt so you get an understanding of what she was saying. But it says, a pageant queen reflects on turning 30. And it says, at 28, Chesley Crist made history as the oldest Miss USA champion in the pageant's 68-year history, giving her a unique perspective on the often damaging link between youth and accomplishment. In the essay, the attorney and Emmy Award nominated television correspondent reflects on her journey to overcoming the relentless pressure to achieve and how she found fulfillment and purpose in herself.
That's interesting.
And I want to make sure that I say this because I believe in being really sensitive to people's situations and like their families, because I know there are other people that are talking about this and there's media going on, so I don't want to be insensitive. We're reflecting on this, and I brought this up because it gives us some kind of context to show that she really was already thinking about this pressure to achieve and how to find fulfillment. So it looks like she was already on a journey, and she was somewhat aware that she was underweight to constantly achieve at such a young age.
And this is a question for a lot of you guys to think about as well, but it's like, does your life have value and worth apart from, like, what actually gives your life value and worth? Is it the accomplishments? Is it the accolades? You know, I got the degree. Is it the, you know, 6-figure paying job plus the house, right? Is it the wife or the husband? Is it the kids? Like, what is it that is actually ascribing value and worth to you? And I would pose, I guess, just the thought that, hey, if value and worth, significance about your person is outside of you, then that's detrimental for a couple of reasons. Because what happens if you achieve all of those things and they don't provide, you know, the satisfaction or the worth or the value that they thought they would? Or if it is providing that sort of value and like, I guess, worth and significance for you, then what happens if any one of those things is lost? You know what I mean? Or taken away, for example, like if you lose a loved one or if you lose the job, then what? Where, how do you define? And I think it's very, very important, because, this is a thought experiment that, like I told you, I had told my brothers, like, hey, imagine all of the things that you ever want to achieve under the sun, that you achieve them. So like the job, you're living in the area that you want to live, you're driving the car that you want to drive, you're married to the person that you want to be married to, like everything that you could possibly do under the sun, and you achieve it all, and you finally get to that place. And in this particular place, in this space and point in your life, what if all of those things that you thought would ultimately bring you satisfaction and fulfillment don't? Then it's like, how do you define yourself? Like, who are you then for real? And I think that's a very, very scary place to like live your whole life in pursuit of things that you think have genuine value and significance. Does accomplishment actually provide value? Like, does it have the I guess the ingredients or the content, the content necessary in order to satisfy you for real as an individual? Like, what do you think on that?
When we talked, I came to the conclusion that no, it does not. I came to the conclusion that I feel like we as society and people or mankind or whatever have thought and have fooled ourselves into thinking that accomplishment and things that you can gain and amass that are material add value to us, but they don't. And I think that the evidence of that even is that what does happen to people when they lose things. Like, are you now a worthless piece of crap because you don't have anything?
Right.
Like, even saying that out loud, that's why you just giggle, because that sounds ridiculous.
Right.
To be like, I don't have anything, so I'm a worthless piece of crap.
Right. But society, I think, works very, very diligently, media and the narrative, obviously, because we live in a capitalistic society. So the economy is ran and thrives off of consumerism, like buy and sell, I guess. So if that's the system, it has to advertise in such a way to make us assume that achievement or value is in achievement, and therefore it's outside of us.
Yeah.
So then even worth is itself, like worth and value is ascribed to the object.
Yeah. So
I heard a guy say, I want to say Stephen Bartlett, but I might be wrong, but he said, like, so sellers will make the object the thing that's valuable, and then what they do is they apprehend your self-esteem.
Yep.
So then they have your self-esteem,
yep.
And then it's like what they're doing is they pretty much, like, in order for you to buy it back, it's like you gotta buy the thing that will, like, that you assume will make you feel like worthy and valuable and accomplished. And that's a very, like, deadly trap, I think.
Yeah.
Just that aspect of how. So I think there is a societal of course there's a societal factor, but I think what society does is they propagate that. So you just have what ends up happening is that, so media is doing one thing and they're bombarding us with advertisement, and then saying, this diamond ring, right? So it's actually a very, very good business strategy if you want to, to link your product to emotional currents,
yep.
if you will.
Yep.
And then when you do that, what happens is that the emotion becomes synonymous with, like, the object.
Yep.
So then, Valentine's Day is a prime example. Weddings is a prime example, because technically speaking, like, I don't need to buy you a ring to prove my love, but that's so heavily ingrained in culture that for a woman not to get a ring, she automatically feels like this dude is trash. Yeah. Right? Now, nothing wrong with rings, but then it's like, let's put this under scrutiny. Maybe there is something wrong with the way in which we view.
Yeah. In context.
In context, for sure. Like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the like a rollie or Lamborghini or big house or this, that, and the third, but it's like really discerning why you want those things.
Yep, you just hit it on the head.
That's critical. What do you think on that?
Yeah, I don't think we ask ourselves that question enough. In fact, I don't think people ask that question
At all. Yeah,
no.
It's like I want it, I should have it because I'm like.
And then even to just take it to another level, like I particularly like abhor, strongly hate, the fact that that's heavily marketed to the Black community.
Right.
Like this thing, like it's marketed in our music, it's marketed in our the shows that we watch, and like everything that's just heavily influenced by celebrity and media. Like you don't realize you want that Lambo because such and such rapper has it and he rapped about it in his song. You want whatever he has so you can flex it. You want the money, you want the girl, you want the attractive female so you can flex it. And I'm not just coming for the guys, I'm gonna come for females too. Like for us, girl, you want those bundles. You know what I'm saying? Because so-and-so had those bundles and they got that hair. Look at what the Kardashians did. They set off an entire generation of like a new hairstyle.
For sure.
Like before their show came out, the whole like long middle part flowy weave thing wasn't happening until Kim and her sisters did it. Then suddenly that look took off, and now here we are. Their show it's ended now. It's like 20 years later and we're still buying that look. And it's not white women that's really buying it. I mean, they do, but come on, mostly it's us.
For sure.
And why is that? It's, you said it earlier, it's not just because of the look, it's because of the emotions behind it that they sell to you, and this glamorous experience that is sold to you that, hey girl, if you got this wig, if you got this body, because that's a thing too now, you know, if you got this tight waist and this big booty and everything, you know, this is what you're going to be able to get. This is the type of guy you're going to have.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that
but we buy into that, though.
We buy into it, and we don't realize that we're thinking at like the most basic root of everything. We're thinking, oh, when I have this, when I get that, like when I get to that point, I'll be happy. Yeah. And I'll be acceptable, and I'll be worthy to other people.
Right. Because
all of this is just what other people can see.
Right. What we can see, I think that's a profound point right there. Like, you know, the Bible, find that for me if you can. Like, says like that we are we're called like not to walk by sight. I mean, those who what is it? How's it go?
Walk by faith and not by sight.
Walk by faith and not by sight. Yeah, right. And I think that's powerful. So sight, what we can see, like, is evidence for us. Like what we can touch, what we can feel and experience through our senses, like taste, hearing, sight, feel, and what's the fifth one? Sound.
Yeah, sound.
Yeah. So we have these, and then there's even a whole rack of other cognitive sort of senses as well that we have, but we're very sensory, you know, crafted creatures, and I think as a result of that, our belief is heavily in what we see. Now, if you believe in God or if you don't, but I think especially, I think irregardless of whether you believe in God or not, I think this applies to both parties, is that if you come from, I'm gonna use, you know, people who come from, I guess, the trenches, people who come from the mud, but people who come from you know, the bottom of the at the bottom of the economic totem pole, like class, you have evidence that is visceral, like, and it's not only visceral, but then it's the context of your environment is also to connect it to emotional factors. So it reinforces like the things that you see, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to look at the world and tell that it's jacked up, you know, and that we have a lot of deplorable crap in the world. You don't need to be a scientist. I think we unanimously can all agree that that life is rife with suffering and inequality and like just unfairness, if you will. And I think how visceral the experience of going through something painful is, especially if you're at the bottom, everything around you is like reinforcing that, like that you're at the bottom. So like when you step outside, you're seeing people also too, like at the bottom. Your job is a low minimum wage paying job. Like if you're on welfare, that's cyclical. It's designed in such a way to kind of keep you on welfare. If your parents have lack, and then there's a narrative also too that is associated with lack, or there's a way you're going to speak, there's a way you're going to think. You're not going to think with like a prosperity growth mindset.
That's not there.
It's not there, exactly.
It's
you
not
don't even
your environment.
It's not even there. So I think what happens is that's all we see. So that becomes a paradigm, and a paradigm is really in essence like a set of circumstantial variables that make up your view, your worldview of how you see the world. And so everyone in essence you could think of is like in a box, so to speak, and it extends about, so it has its diameter, it has its size. So some people have a really huge expanded paradigm, so their view is sort of like far reaching, they can see far, things like that. And then some people have a very narrow, like stifled, just minuscule sort of paradigm. I think this is interesting. Interesting point is that it's hard for human beings to believe in something that their paradigm or their life doesn't account for. So it's like if I say to you, Patrice, I'm like, oh Patrice, like you're like super successful, don't worry about it, like you're an amazing person who has a lot of ingenuity, you're a very innovative type of person. If your life doesn't account for that, and then if you have reinforced narratives that are saying the opposite, you internalize all that because your world is projecting that,
right?
And then so you can't really subscribe to that, even if it's true.
Right.
So